It is 3 o'clock, so I'm going to kick off the meeting. Welcome to the October 26, 2022 meeting of the Urban Design Commission. My name is Jorge Charnico, and I am the acting chair of the commission today. The following guidelines are in place for the meetings in the council chambers at City Hall. Only the south entrance of City Hall will be open for access to the building. For exiting the building, all accesses can be used. Air purifying machines have been installed in the chamber, and hand sanitizer machines and disposal face masks will be available. When called upon, applicants and speakers will come to the front podium to speak. Only one person at a time should come to the podium. Speak into the microphone, please, and identify yourself and provide your address for the record when you begin speaking. Address your comments to the commission. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Citizens may address the commission on agenda items by responding to the chair's call for speakers during the discussion of each item and signing the speaker's log on the podium. All comments must be relevant to the item being heard. The chair or the preceding officer may, in his or her discretion, prohibit a person from addressing the commission and/or remove the person from the city council chambers if that person commits any disorderly or disruptive behavior. Please refer to the meeting agenda for more information about these requirements. If you are parked in the Sheridan Walker parking garage north of John Rex Elementary School or in the Arts District parking garage just north of City Hall, staff can provide you with parking validation ticket. The agenda and documents are located at PrimeGov portal. You would select the Urban Design Commission meeting. Once there, you would then click on the agenda item and the related documents will come up below the item. Desiree, will you please call roll?
Commissioner Peoples, Commissioner Uday, Commissioner Blatt,
Here.
Commissioner Charnico,
Here.
Commissioner Gullery,
Here.
Commissioner Holmes,
Here.
Commissioner Miller,
Here.
Commissioner Wynn, Commissioner Varnum. Chairperson, we have quorum.
Thank you. The first item we have is approval of the minutes. Everybody should have received a copy of the minutes in their packet. Are there any comments or revisions that need to be made?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
We have a motion from Anthony.
Second.
Sorry, commit. The minutes are approved. Next item is cases withdrawn, which we have none of. We also have no continuance request and no consent docket. We have one case for individual consideration. It is UDCA-22-00050 at 411 Northwest 23rd Street.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This item before you is for a proposed mural on the west elevation building at 411 Northwest 23rd Street in the Uptown Northwest 23rd Street corridor. This is the west side of the 23rd Street body piercing building, and the only reason it's on the agenda for individual consideration is because the mural, as proposed, is big enough to extend onto a portion of the west elevation that covers an unpainted brick wall. The first 16, 17 feet of the wall from the south side of the building on that west wall is already painted black, but once you get past that portion, it's unpainted buff colored brick. And we do have the guideline and the building rehabilitation and conservation guidelines that suggest that unpainted brick should not be painted. And the rationale behind that is Really, it's about structural stability because brick is a material that's meant to breathe, and part of that breathing brings moisture in and moisture gets out. And when paint is applied to the exterior surface of the brick, the moisture can't get out. So you get moisture trapped inside the brick, and that's the reason behind the guideline that we have that applies in this particular case. We talked to the applicant about the possibility of reducing the size of the mural so that it was only on the existing painted portion of the west elevation. And they indicated to us that they would be amenable to that solution if that was the direction of the commission. And basically that's the position the staff has. We're recommending approval of the mural with the change to reduce the size so that it does not cover the unpainted brick portion of that west elevation. And we're prepared to respond to any comments that the commission may have. I don't believe, oh, never mind.
Are there any questions from commissioners?
Do we have an idea about how far onto the brick it covers past the edge of the block?
It's about 6 feet
Okay.
past the painted portion.
Is there anyone in the chamber that would like to speak to this item? Okay, if there's no more questions or comments, do we have a motion from, or a discussion from the commission?
From a discussion standpoint, and I actually liked the way that the mural was done.
As presented, but since staff has recommended and the applicant has agreed to, I think that that's a great compromise, and I think that I would be supportive of that. I'd like to hear if there's any other comments from commission members.
Any other comments? Then do we have a motion?
I'll make a recommendation to approve the application on the basis that the project meets the regulations and guidelines of the Urban Design Overlay District zoning ordinance as referenced in sections C and D of the staff report, subject to the condition that the applicant shall resize the proposed mural so that it does not extend over the unpainted rough brick.
I'll second that.
We have a second, so. The motion passes. Moving on to other business, we have a discussion on SPUD 1452 at 719 Northwest 23rd Street.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is an item that is brought before the Urban Design Commission as an opportunity for the commission to review the SPUD and provide a recommendation on its approval to the Planning Commission. The biggest issue that we are always looking for as staff when we have a SPUD within a design district is that the opportunity to maintain design review control over what gets built, what other changes or improvements that are made within the boundary of the SPUD are retained by the Urban Design Commission and subject to a certificate of approval, either through administrative approval by staff or by bringing the item to commission based on the rules and regulations that apply in the urban design overlay. And this SPUD does have that provision contained within it. We didn't find anything particularly objectionable otherwise within the context and the text of the master design statement. I did want to point out that I passed out to the dais this one-page update, which is a minor change to the language under the architectural section of the master design statement. And instead of talking about attached awnings, the applicant has requested that that language be changed to canopies attached or detached. And I'll leave it to them to explain the rationale behind that if the commission has any concerns about that change. But we didn't find anything in the master design statement here that is counter to the regulations and rules that are applicable in the urban design corridor on Northwest 23rd Street, and therefore we're recommending approval to the commission, or recommending that the commission recommend approval to the planning commission, excuse me. That completes our presentation. We're prepared to respond to any questions the commission may have.
Thank you, Michael. Are there any questions for Michael at this point? Is there anybody in the chamber that would like to speak on this item?
Briefly, David Box, 522 Colcord Drive. As staff said, it's kind of a unique item in that we're asking you to make a recommendation to Planning Commission, who will also make a recommendation to City Council, who ultimately take a vote on this. So for your purposes, obviously you guys are typically dealing with design elements. Here we're talking about uses. That is really what Planning Commission, City Council do. We've maintained the ability for the commission to have CA control over anything that is relative to the design or the buildings. So with that, we're happy to answer any questions. We think it's a neat project that'll bring kind of a neat urban experience down to 23rd Street.
Any questions from the commission? Is there anybody else in the chamber that would like to speak to this item? Okay, I'll open it up for discussion by the commission. Okay, do we have a motion?
I have a question, actually. On the approval here, there's the A to D for the conditions on this. It mentions the standard width for the width of a one-way drive. I guess my question on that, like, what is, did you have any comments on A through D on that,
Yeah,
David?
so we agree with the conditions. As it relates to B, we will revise it to say that the minimum of a one-way drive aisle will be per the zoning code, with the ability to perhaps reduce that by 10% if Public Works signs off on it.
Any other questions?
I have a question. Hours of operation are listed as Monday through Sunday, 11 a.m. to 2 a.m., and outdoor music shall be permitted until 12 a.m. Monday through Sunday. Talk to me a little bit more about the hours of operation, in particular the outdoor hours of operation.
Yeah, so in conversations with the Ward 2 Planning Commission member, Janice Powers, she asked us to reduce the hours of operation of the outdoor music from Monday through Thursday until 10 p.m. My client has agreed to do that. The SPUD will be amended tomorrow from the podium during the Planning Commission hearing with that suggested change.
Okay, and can you repeat those new hours?
Monday through Thursday, the outdoor music piece will conclude at 10 p.m.
Okay, and then Friday, Saturday, and Sunday will still be until midnight?
Yes.
Is that in line with provisions of the code related to outdoor patios in close proximity to residential housing?
Yeah, so the code really deals with a decibel, not really hours of operation. And so we'll have to, of course, meet all decibel requirements that exist. In terms of the concern being neighbors, there's been no protest that's been submitted in advance of the Planning Commission hearing. No calls have been received from planning staff that we're aware of. So there's been no concerns that have been expressed. Of course, this board is considered quasi-judicial, so we can't talk to you. We've had those in-depth conversations with every member of the Planning Commission except for Mr. Govine, which will happen tomorrow morning. And we've talked about that, and that's where that 10 p.m. came from.
And how's the neighborhood been engaged?
Through notice that's been sent by the city.
Okay. Did that notice say anything about hours of outdoor operation?
Yeah, so the notice tells them what the application is, that it's a SPUD, and it kind of lists a little bit about it, and then gives them direction to call Development Services or go to the website that'll have the full detail of all the documents relevant to the application.
Okay. How close is this to inhabited residential?
Do you have the aerial you could put up?
I don't have the aerial put up, no.
Do you have the site plan?
Yeah, I do, but,
So that'll,
so the music would be in the interior courtyard area?
yes, the music will be in the interior courtyard and buffered by buildings that are contained within our development. And then on the other side of that would be a backyard and then an ultimately a structure. So all of those homes along the north receive notice. So it's 300 feet from the edge of the property for zoning changes.
Okay.
I would estimate that the closest residential unit to the northern edge of the interior courtyard would be probably 50 to 60 feet.
Well, to the structure, it's going to be more like,
Yeah, to the structure is be further.
yeah,
But to the property is about 50 to 60 feet.
property line.
And this is a question more for staff, but my understanding is that with outdoor patio seating at restaurants and bars, there's restrictions of hours based on if they're in close proximity to residential houses. Would this SPUD overrule that provision of the code?
The only place that I'm aware of that requirement in the UD is in Paseo, which is Paseo proper up in the,
Yeah,
Off
I don't
of
think this is
Walker.
an urban design thing as much as just a
Right,
general zoning and planning.
but in terms of the regular rules, again, I think you're talking about the noise ordinance basically, and that, again, like the applicant has said, is based on decibels and police enforcement.
Okay.
And we don't seek any variances to any of those regulations. So the SPUD doesn't seek to remove ourselves from any obligation that exists like that.
I'm just wondering, since the hours of operation are specifically written into the SPUD, whether or not that ties the city's hands if there does become an issue related to outdoor operations.
Well, no, I mean, the city always has the ultimate hammer if it's a nuisance to seek some sort of redress that way. But the SPUD application that's set to go went through internal review from all departments, including the planning staff, and the planning staff had no comment whatsoever on that. The only comment in the staff report to Planning Commission deals with the setbacks, and we've agreed with every condition that the planning staff has asked us to agree to.
Okay.
I think the provision you might be thinking of has to do with alcohol being served outdoors.
It does.
Within,
It-
which would be
it is.
different from outdoor music.
Well,
So,
right, but the two go
yes.
hand in hand. I
But
mean,
we
let's not pretend
can
that there's going to be a dry
verify
concert.
with, I think, from a design review perspective, that doesn't really impact the design review, but I understand that being a concern and you're thinking about the adjacent neighbors, so we can certainly clarify with other planning department staff whether or not that's impacted and let you guys know.
Okay. And yes, thanks for clarifying it. That does relate to alcohol being served, but I'm assuming alcohol will be
Yes.
served. So Katie, you said the SPUD would overrule that, or not quite sure?
So the municipal code has no hours of operation limitation, other than state law, of course, stops the sale of alcohol at 2 a.m.
Yeah,
So-
there's a zoning code related to alcohol being served on outdoor patios in close proximity to residential housing.
So whatever it is, we don't seek to, if that does exist, I'm not sure it does, but if it does, we don't seek to vary it. If anything, our hours of operation are more restrictive
Well,
than
I
what would
think
exist.
I think it's 11 p.m., so this is beyond. I mean,
I've
2
never
a.m.
seen
is
that.
far, far beyond.
In every SPUD or PUD or zoning application I've been involved in, I've never once seen that. Staff didn't raise that issue. I'm happy to look at it between now and Thursday, but I've never seen that ordinance if it exists.
Okay.
Are there any more questions? Any additional discussion? Is there a motion out there?
I'll make a motion to approve the application on the basis that the project meets the regulations and guidelines of the Urban Design Overlay District zoning ordinance as referenced in section C and D of the staff report, with the conditions that the applicant shall revise Exhibit B, conceptual site plan to ensure that the proposed dumpster situated to the west of 2417 North Lee satisfies the minimum 50-foot separation from any adjacent residential zoning district or use, and the minimum drive aisle width requirements for the angled parking stalls located north of the dumpster, and to add appropriate signage for one-way drive at the driveway exit to North Lee Avenue. Item B, the applicant shall revise section 2.6, parking of the MDS to add a standard for the minimum width of a one-way drive. C, the applicant shall revise Exhibit B, conceptual site plan to add appropriate signage at the exit of the one-way drive onto North Lee Avenue to prevent vehicles from entering this exit drive. And item D, the applicant shall revise Exhibit B, conceptual site plan to eliminate the continuous trellis and instead show the conceptual locations for the proposed individual attached awnings.
Thank you, Commissioner Blatt. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second. All right, motion passes. Moving on to communications. Michael?
Yes, on this agenda for you, under administrative approval report, we have 5 cases that have been approved administratively by staff since your last meeting. And if you have, any of the commissioners have any questions about any of these cases, we'd be happy to respond to those this time.
Are there any questions for Michael on any of these? Okay, we'll move on to comments from planning staff.
I don't believe I have any for this meeting.
Comments from commission members. Our next regular commission meeting is Wednesday, November 16th, 2022. New applications were to be submitted to staff by 4 p.m. Tuesday, October 18th. Revisions and information on continued projects were to have been submitted by Tuesday, October 23rd. With that, we are adjourned. Thank you very much, everybody.